She collapsed on the kitchen floor. Her 6-year-old son mistakenly dialed her billionaire CEO ex's number. Sofia Martinez stood in her tiny Chicago kitchen, her hands trembling as she poured cereal into a chipped bowl for her son, Levi. Her hair clung to her damp forehead, her eyes heavy with exhaustion from working double shifts. The old linoleum floor creaked under her bare feet, and the second-hand fridge hummed loudly in the silence of the morning. Levi, only 6, sat cross-legged on the couch nearby, cartoons flickering on the small TV. He glanced over at his mother, sensing something wasn't right. Sofia bent to reach for strawberries from the fridge, but before she could stand up, her body gave out. She collapsed hard onto the floor, the bowl slipping from her hands, milk and cereal scattering across the tiles. Her cheek pressed against the cold surface as her breathing grew shallow. Levi's heart raced. "Mom!" he cried, shaking her arm. Tears welled in his eyes as he grabbed her phone with trembling fingers. In his panic, he tapped the screen and accidentally speed-dialed 1 and dialed a number saved under one warning label: "Do not call." What will happen now that her little boy has called the one man she swore never to see again? Stay with us to find out, and before we continue, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe. It's important to help the growth of this channel, because tomorrow we'll drop another powerful story you won't want to miss. Your support allows us to bring you more stories like this. Now, let's continue. Liam Davidson sat at the head of a long glass table, his expression sharp and his posture rigid. Around him, executives from his corporation flipped through documents, their voices blending into a low hum. On the wall, a large screen displayed charts, graphs, and figures that measured in billions. This was supposed to be an important strategy meeting, the kind that decided the future of Davidson Industries. Yet, for Liam, every number felt the same. He was distracted, restless, and tired of hearing rehearsed arguments about profits and market shares. The sound of his private phone buzzing in his pocket cut through the noise of the room. It was unusual. Almost no one had this number. He pulled it out with mild annoyance, expecting perhaps a call from his assistant about something urgent. When he saw the name flashing across the screen, his heart stopped. Sofia. It had been years since he last saw that name on his phone. Years since he had heard her voice. For a second, Liam wondered if his eyes were playing tricks on him. He tightened his grip, ignoring the confused glances from the people seated around the table. Without a word, he rose from his chair, walked out of the meeting, and shut the heavy wooden doors behind him. His pulse quickened. Why now? Why her? He pressed the green button and lifted the phone to his ear, bracing himself for the sound of Sofia's voice. Instead, a small, panicked voice broke through the line. "Is this the emergency unit? Help, please. My mom," she fell. "She's not waking up." Liam froze. The voice was high-pitched, filled with fear. It wasn't Sofia. "Who is this?" he demanded, trying to keep his tone calm but firm. "I'm Levi," the boy cried. "Mommy's on the floor. She won't wake up. Please help her." The words hit Liam like a blow to the chest. A child. Sofia had a child. The voice couldn't have belonged to anyone older than 6 or 7. His mind raced as questions piled up in rapid succession. Since when? Who was the father? Why hadn't she told him? He forced himself to stay focused. There wasn't time for answers. Right now, the child on the phone needed help. "Levi, listen to me," Liam said, his tone softening. "Tell me your address. Do you know where you live?" The boy sniffled, his voice shaking. It's on Greenfield Apartments, number 32. Please, she's not moving. Liam pulled out his other phone, the one reserved for work and quick dialing, and signaled his assistant to get an ambulance immediately to that address. His mind replayed the boy's words. Sophia. On the floor. Unconscious. Levi, you're very brave for calling me, Liam continued. The ambulance is on the way. Stay close to your mom. Don't leave her side. Can you do that? Yes, Levi whispered, his breathing uneven. But I'm scared. I know you are, Liam replied, his own chest tightening. But you're not alone. I'm coming too. When the call ended, Liam stood still in the hallway for a brief moment, his hand still gripping the phone, his heart racing harder than it had in years. The sound of that boy's voice lingered. Levi. The name stuck in his head. He shook himself back to action, striding down the hall toward the private elevator that would take him straight to the garage. His driver scrambled to attention as Liam pushed through the doors. Sir, where? Greenfield Apartments, Liam snapped. Now! The car roared to life, speeding through Chicago traffic. For once, Liam didn't care about the calls buzzing in from the boardroom or the deals hanging in balance. None of that mattered. His thoughts spun only around Sophia, lying helpless on the floor of some run-down apartment, and the boy who had begged him for help. He leaned back against the seat, trying to steady his breathing. Sophia. He hadn't seen her since the day everything fell apart. She had left without explanation, refusing to answer his calls or texts, disappearing from his world completely. All he had been left with was anger, regret, and unanswered questions. And now, a son? He closed his eyes briefly, memories of Sophia flooding back without mercy. The way she used to laugh when he teased her, the warmth of her hand in his, the nights they had spent planning a future that never came. It was painful, but what hurt most was realizing she had built a life without him, a life that included a child. But who was Levi's father? The thought gnawed at him, but Liam pushed it aside. There would be time for that later. Right now, Sophia needed him. Whether she wanted him in her life or not, he wasn't about to let her suffer alone. The car weaved through the busy streets, every red light testing his patience. He clenched his fists, willing the driver to go faster. Each second felt like a year. He remembered Levi's trembling voice, the sound of fear so raw it had pierced through Liam's walls in an instant. The boy had called him. Out of everyone in the world, he had reached for Liam. By mistake, maybe, but that didn't change the fact that destiny had pulled them together. At last, the car pulled up outside a dull brick building with cracked steps and peeling paint. The kind of place Liam had never expected to find Sophia living in. He pushed the door open before the car had fully stopped, rushing out into the humid air. Flashing lights from an ambulance lit up the parking lot. Paramedics moved quickly, guiding a stretcher toward the building's entrance. Liam's chest tightened at the sight. Somewhere inside, Sophia was fighting for her strength, and a terrified little boy was waiting for answers. He followed the paramedics up the narrow stairwell, his polished shoes clashing against the worn-down steps. The door to apartment 32 was wide open. Inside, he saw a glimpse of spilled cereal, a phone on the ground, and the faint cry of a child. "Mom, please wake up." The sound drew him in like a magnet. And there, standing small in the middle of the chaos, was Levi. Liam's gaze locked on the boy standing in the middle of the small apartment. Levi's face was streaked with tears, his little hands clenched into fists at his sides. His wide brown eyes looked almost too big for his face, filled with panic and confusion. The resemblance hit Liam immediately, the curve of the boy's jaw, the way his eyebrows arched, even the stubborn tilt of his chin. The thought shook him to his core. "Levi," Liam said softly, his voice breaking through the noise of paramedics rushing around them. The boy looked up, startled, clutching the phone as though it were a lifeline. "Are you the man I called?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Yes," Liam answered, kneeling to meet him at eye level. "I'm Liam. You did the right thing. The ambulance is here now, and they're helping your mom." Levi's lower lip quivered. "She wouldn't wake up. I didn't know what to do." "You were brave," Liam assured him, placing a steady hand on the boy's shoulder. "You called for help, and that's why she's going to be okay." Behind them, two paramedics lifted Sophia onto a stretcher. Her face was pale, her hair falling loosely over the side of the pillow. Liam's stomach tightened at the sight. He had known Sophia as strong and unshakable, never the type to falter, and now seeing her so fragile cut deep into him. "Sir, we need to take her now," one of the paramedics said firmly, motioning toward the door. Liam nodded, then turned back to Levi. "Do you want to ride with your mom?" Levi shook his head quickly, fear flashing across his face. "I don't want to be alone." The boy's words pierced straight through Liam. Without hesitation, he took Levi's hand. "You won't be. I'm with you." They hurried down the stairwell, following the stretcher as the paramedics carried Sophia to the waiting ambulance. The air outside was thick and hot, the siren already blaring as the doors swung open. Liam lifted Levi inside and climbed in after him, settling onto the bench as the vehicle lurched forward into traffic. Levi clung to him, his small fingers digging into Liam's sleeve. Liam wrapped an arm around the boy, holding him steady as the paramedics worked on Sophia. They checked her vitals, inserted N4, and spoke in clipped tones that Liam barely registered. His focus never left Sophia's pale face. The city blurred past the ambulance windows. Red lights, car horns, and voices faded into the background as Liam's thoughts raced. What had happened to her? Why had she been living in that apartment, looking so thin and worn down? He had left her years ago, thinking she would thrive, that she was strong enough to face anything. Had he been wrong? His jaw clenched. Whether she wanted him here or not, he would not let her slip through his fingers again. Not like this. "Is she going to die?" Levi whispered suddenly, breaking the silence. Liam glanced down at him, his chest tightening. The boy's eyes were full of tears, his small voice trembling with fear. "No," Liam said firmly, though his throat tightened around the word. "She's sick, but the doctors will help her. She's stronger than you think." Levi sniffled, pressing his face into Liam's sleeve. "I was scared she'd never wake up." "I know," Liam whispered, his hand resting gently on the boy's back. "You don't have to be scared anymore. You're not alone." The ambulance finally pulled into the emergency bay at Rush University Medical Center. The doors flew open, and the paramedics rushed Sophia inside. Liam carried Levi in his arms, ignoring the surprised looks from the hospital staff as a billionaire CEO in a tailored suit walked quickly behind the stretcher. Inside, the chaos of the emergency room swallowed them. Nurses shouted orders, monitors beeped, and stretchers wheeled past in every direction. Liam followed until a nurse held up a hand. "Sir, you'll need to wait here." Liam's chest tightened, but he nodded. He turned to Levi, who was trembling against him. "They're just helping her now," he said softly. "We'll see her again soon." He guided Levi to a row of hard plastic chairs against the wall. The boy sat beside him, his legs too short to reach the floor, his sneakers tapping nervously against the chair. Liam rested his elbows on his knees, his mind still spinning. Levi peeked up at him after a moment. "Do you know my mom?" The question was so direct that it caught Liam off guard. He drew in a slow breath, stammering, "Yes. I knew her a long time ago." Levi studied him for a moment, his small face scrunched up in thought. "She never talks about you." Liam's throat tightened. He forced a smile, though it didn't reach his eyes. "That's okay. Sometimes grown-ups don't talk about everything." The boy's next words, however, hit him harder than he expected. "Are you my dad?" Liam blinked, his heart pounding. He hadn't prepared for that. Up close, Levi's resemblance to him was undeniable. The dark eyes, the sharp line of his jaw, it was like looking into a mirror from decades ago. But Sophia had never told him she was pregnant, never even hinted at it before she left. He hesitated, then spoke carefully and smiled. "Nah. I am just a faraway friend of your mom, Levi. But I promise you this. I am here for you and your mom." Levi's shoulders relaxed slightly, as if that promise was enough for now. Hours seemed to stretch into days as they waited. Nurses came and went, updating Liam with fragments of information. Exhaustion, malnutrition, stress. Words that painted a picture of a life far from the one he had imagined Sophia living. Liam leaned back against the wall, watching Levi doze off beside him, his small head resting on Liam's arm. He adjusted his jacket to cover the boy like a blanket, his heart twisting with emotions he couldn't quite name. As the hallway quieted, Liam made a silent vow. He had lost Sophia once, letting pride and misunderstandings tear them apart. He would not lose her again. Not when her son, maybe their son, had called him in desperation. The hospital was alive with its own rhythm, monitors beeping, wheels of stretchers rolling, voices calling codes across the floor. Liam followed closely behind Levi, who gripped his hand with the stubborn strength of a child afraid of being left alone. The boy's eyes darted from face to face, searching for familiarity in the chaos. At the admissions desk, Liam gave Sophia's name, his voice sharper than he intended. The nurse glanced up, clearly used to people in panic, and pointed them toward the waiting area. "The doctors are with her. We'll update you soon." Levi tugged at Liam's sleeve, his lip trembling. "Is she going to die?" The question stopped Liam in his tracks. He crouched to Levi's level, unsure of the right words. He had faced boardrooms of shareholders, international deals worth billions, yet none of that prepared him for the eyes of a child searching for truth. "She's strong," Liam said carefully. "The doctors are helping her. Right now, we wait." Levi nodded, though his face remained tense. He curled up beside Liam on one of the hard plastic chairs, clutching his backpack like armor. Minutes stretched. Nurses moved briskly, the hum of machines filling the air. Liam felt the strange weight of stillness pressing down on him, forcing thoughts he had long buried to the surface. He had not seen Sophia in years. Their breakup was messy, a storm of pride, business, and words left unsaid. He remembered her determination, the way she fought for every dream she believed in. To see her collapse, worn down to exhaustion, was something he never thought possible. A doctor finally emerged from the treatment area. She scanned the waiting room, her gaze landing on Liam and Levi. "Are you family of Sophia Bennett?" Levi's head shot up, but he looked at Liam before answering. Liam stood, steadying his voice. "Yes, this is her son. I'm a close friend." The doctor nodded. "She's stable for now." The collapse was caused by exhaustion, combined with malnutrition and stress. Her body simply couldn't keep up anymore. Liam processed the words carefully. Malnutrition. Stress. He glanced at Levi, who was still clutching his backpack, his small face drawn with fear. The realization hit harder than any corporate betrayal or hostile takeover ever had. Sophia had been carrying this weight alone, too alone. "Can we see her?" Liam asked. The doctor nodded. "She's conscious, though weak. Keep the visit calm." They followed the doctor into a private room. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting a cold glow over the hospital bed. Sophia lay there, pale against the white sheets, her breathing shallow but steady. Her eyes fluttered open at the sound of the door. "Mom!" Levi ran to her side, grabbing her hand. Relief washed over her face as she stroked his hair. But then she noticed Liam standing in the doorway. Her eyes widened in shock, her lips parting but no words escaping. Liam stepped closer, unsure if he was welcome. "Sophia." His voice was low, careful. She blinked at him, disbelief giving way to guarded emotion. "Why are you here?" Before he could answer, Levi interjected. "I called him. I didn't know what else to do." Sophia's gaze shifted from her son to Liam, conflicted. Her instinct was to protect, to shield her child from the complicated history between them. But exhaustion kept her silent, her body too fragile for confrontation. Liam pulled a chair to the bedside. "I didn't know about him." He glanced at Levi, then back at her. "Why didn't you tell me?" Sophia's lips pressed into a thin line. "Because he's not yours." The words landed like a stone between them. For a moment, the only sound was the steady beep of the heart monitor. Liam's jaw tightened, his mind racing. "His father?" he asked carefully. "Gone," Sophia whispered, turning her face toward the window. "He left before Levi was even born. I didn't need help. I thought I could handle it." Liam sat back, the weight of her words sinking in. He looked at Levi again, the boy's features undeniably echoing Sophia's, but holding a strength that felt oddly familiar. He didn't press the question of resemblance. It wasn't the time. "You shouldn't have had to handle this alone," Liam said quietly. "No one should." Sophia gave a small, bitter laugh. "That's easy for you to say. You live in a world where problems can be solved with money. For me, it's been survival. Day by day." Levi rested his head gently on her arm, eyes drooping with fatigue. The sight softened Liam's resolve. "Let me help," he said. Sophia turned back toward him, disbelief flickering in her expression. "Why? Out of guilt? Nostalgia? What's in this for you?" Liam leaned forward, his voice steady but filled with something rare, sincerity. "Because I care. That hasn't changed." Her eyes searched his, as if trying to find the catch. But she saw something she hadn't expected. No agenda, no calculation, just quiet conviction. Silence filled the room again, broken only by Levi's small breathing as he drifted toward sleep. Liam reached out, placing a tentative hand over Sophia's free one. She didn't pull away this time, though her fingers remained tense. "You need rest," Liam said softly. "Both of you. Let me take some of this weight off your shoulders. Just until you're stronger." Sophia closed her eyes, torn between pride and exhaustion. Accepting his help felt dangerous, like opening a door she had locked for years. But looking at Levi, she realized she no longer had the luxury of stubbornness. Finally, she whispered, "We'll see." It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no. For Liam, it was enough. He sat back, watching her, the memories of their past pressing heavily against the fragile present. Somewhere between the failures and the pain, something still lingered, something worth holding on to. As the night wore on, Liam stayed by their side, a quiet presence in the sterile hospital room. And for the first time in years, Sophia allowed herself to drift into sleep, not entirely alone. The morning light filtered through the blinds of Sophia's hospital room, pale and weak. She stirred awake, blinking against the brightness. Levi was curled up in the chair beside her bed, his small frame wrapped in a blanket one of the nurses had provided. Across the room, Liam sat upright in another chair, a jacket draped over him, his phone on silent in his lap. For a moment, Sophia let herself watch him. Years had passed, but his presence was still powerful, familiar in ways that made her chest tighten. She remembered the first time she had seen him. Sharp suit, confident stride, a man who looked untouchable. Yet here he was, silent, hair slightly mussed from sleep, lines of worry creasing his face. When he noticed her eyes on him, he straightened, rubbing the sleep from his own. "You're awake. How are you feeling?" "Tired," she admitted, her voice raspy. "But better." "Good. The doctor said rest is your priority. No work, no stress." He hesitated, then added, "I can help. You don't have to go back to the apartment right away." Sophia shifted uncomfortably. "I can't just accept charity. Not from you." "It's not charity," Liam said firmly. "It's practical. You and Levi need somewhere safe, somewhere stable. Come stay at my penthouse until you're stronger." Sophia shook her head. "That's not simple. You know it's not." Levi stirred in the chair, waking to the sound of voices. He blinked at both of them, rubbing his eyes. "What's happening?" "Nothing, sweetheart," Sophia said gently. "Go back to sleep." But Levi sat up, wide awake now. "Are we going home?" Liam glanced at Sophia. The weight of the decision hung heavy between them. "We'll talk about it later," Sophia murmured. Later that afternoon, when Levi was occupied with a coloring book one of the nurses had given him, Liam leaned closer to Sophia. "You think I don't understand, but I do. I know why you left, why you cut me out. It was about trust." Sophia's jaw tightened. "You're right. I couldn't trust you. Because of the deal." His voice softened, tinged with regret. Her eyes narrowed. "You made me believe you'd support my project, then pulled the funding at the last minute. You left me standing in front of investors, humiliated. That wasn't just business, Liam. That was us." Liam exhaled slowly, the memory still raw. "I pulled out because someone on my board threatened to sabotage the merger if I went through with it. I thought I could explain later, thought you'd understand once the dust settled. But you were gone before I had the chance." Sophia's lips pressed into a thin line. "You could have told me the truth then. Instead, you let me believe I wasn't worth fighting for." "I was wrong," Liam admitted, his voice low. "I should have chosen differently. I should have chosen you." For a long moment, silence filled the room. Sophia turned her gaze toward the window, blinking back the sting of old wounds. "I can't go back," she said finally. "Too much has changed." Liam nodded, though his eyes lingered on her. "I'm not asking you to go back. I'm asking you to let me help now." Her defenses wavered as she looked at Levi, who was humming softly while coloring. His little hands moved quickly, his face calm for the first time all day. Sophia's strength was stretched thin, and she knew it. Pride could only carry her so far. "All right," she whispered. "For now." until I'm back on my feet." 2 days later, Sophia was discharged. The doctors gave her strict instructions: rest, balanced meals, no stress. She wanted to laugh at that last part. No stress. Raising a 6-year-old alone had been nothing but stress. Outside the hospital, Liam's sleek black car waited at the curb. Levi's eyes widened as they approached it. "Whoa," he breathed, running a hand along the shiny surface. "Is this yours?" "Yes," Liam answered. He opened the back door, waiting for Levi to climb in. The boy's excitement was contagious, but Sophia remained tense. As they drove through the city, Sophia stared out the window, her mind churning. The skyline shimmered with wealth and power, everything Liam represented. This world was far from the small apartment she and Levi had called home. When they pulled into the underground garage of Liam's building, Levi's jaw dropped. "Are we going to be living here now?" "Only for a little while," Sophia reminded him quickly. The elevator ride to the penthouse was silent except for Levi's soft exclamations of wonder. When the doors opened, he bolted out, running across the vast living space. The floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, the furniture modern and immaculate. "Mom, look!" Levi called, his small figure dwarfed by the sheer scale of the place. "It's like a castle." Sophia followed slowly, clutching her bag tighter. Liam watched her carefully, sensing her discomfort. "It's just space," he said quietly. "What matters is that it's safe." Levi tugged at her hand, his eyes sparkling. "Can we stay, Mom? Just for a little." Sophia's chest tightened. She had promised herself never to depend on Liam again. But seeing Levi's joy, his wide-eyed sense of wonder, made her falter. "All right," she whispered again. "Just for now." The first few nights were strange. Sophia tried to keep her guard up, tried to remind herself this was temporary. But life in the penthouse was different. Levi had his own room for the first time, stocked with books and toys Liam had arranged. He laughed more, slept better. At meals, Liam joined them, showing a tenderness Sophia had not expected. He listened when Levi spoke, asked questions about his drawings, his favorite cartoons, his dreams of becoming an astronaut. Sophia watched quietly, the bond forming between them both comforting and terrifying. One evening, after Levi had gone to bed, Sophia found herself standing by the windows, looking out at the city lights. Liam joined her, a glass of water in his hand. "You're thinking of leaving already," he said softly. She didn't deny it. "This isn't our world, Liam. Levi will get used to things we can't keep." "Or," Liam countered, "he'll finally get the stability he deserves." "Sophia, you've been carrying too much alone. Let me share the weight." Her throat tightened. "I don't know if I can trust you not to break us again." Liam set the glass down, his eyes steady. "Then give me the chance to prove it. Not as a CEO. Not as the man who failed you before. But as someone who still cares." Sophia turned away, her defenses warring with her exhaustion. But deep down, a part of her wanted to believe him. For now, the past wounds remained open, but the temporary solution gave them something they hadn't had in years: time. Time to heal, to rebuild, to see if trust could be restored. And though Sophia told herself it was only temporary, Levi's laughter echoing through the penthouse whispered a different truth. Life in the penthouse slowly settled into a rhythm, one that Sophia never imagined she would experience again. At first, she kept her guard high, reminding herself daily that this was only temporary. Yet, as the days turned into weeks, the walls she had built around her heart began to soften. Levi thrived in the new environment. For the first time in his young life, he had space to run without worrying about neighbors pounding on thin apartment walls. His laughter filled the halls, a sound that eased some of the heaviness Sophia carried. He ran down the wide hallways, trailed books across the floor, and made himself comfortable in the quiet safety of a home that didn't creak with every step. Liam adjusted, too. The powerful CEO who once lived his life around endless meetings and late-night deals now found himself reading bedtime stories about dragons and superheroes. Levi would curl against his side, eyes wide with fascination, while Liam's deep voice carried through the room. When the story ended, Levi often pleaded for one more chapter, and Liam rarely refused. Sophia watched those moments quietly. At first, she told herself she was only grateful that Levi had a stable figure nearby. But as the weeks passed, she couldn't ignore the care Liam showed, not just to Levi, but to her as well. He insisted she rest, made sure she ate proper meals, and gently reminded her that she didn't have to do everything alone. One evening, while Levi was asleep, Sophia sat at the dining table sorting through unpaid bills. She felt the old anxiety creeping back, numbers that didn't add up, debts that never seemed to shrink. Liam walked in, holding 2 mugs of tea. "You're doing it again," he said quietly. She looked up, startled. "Doing what?" "Carrying the weight alone." He set a mug in front of her. "You don't have to." Sophia exhaled slowly, her fingers tightening on the papers. "I've lived this way for years. It's the only way I know." Liam leaned on the table. "You think letting me help means losing control. But it doesn't. It means you can finally breathe." His words unsettled her, not because they were wrong, but because they were right. She had been in survival mode for so long that accepting help felt foreign, dangerous even. Later that night, while she sat on the balcony staring out at the glittering skyline, Liam joined her. The cool air brushed against them, and for a while they were silent. Finally, he broke it. "Do you know why I walked away from that deal years ago?" he asked softly. Sophia stiffened. "Because money mattered more than us. I remember it clearly." "That's not the truth," Liam said. His eyes didn't leave hers. "I was forced into a corner. My board threatened to collapse the merger that kept thousands of jobs alive if I funded your project. I thought I could fix it behind the scenes, but I was wrong. I should have told you the truth back then. Instead, I made you think I abandoned you." The ache in his voice was undeniable. Sophia swallowed hard, her chest tightening with the weight of old memories. "I waited for you to explain," she whispered. "I waited, but you never came. I was ashamed," he admitted. "Ashamed that I had chosen business over you. By the time I gathered the courage to reach out, you were gone." Her eyes stung with tears she hadn't expected. "Do you know what that did to me? I thought I wasn't worth fighting for." "You were always worth fighting for," Liam said firmly. "I just didn't fight the right way. And I lost you." The silence between them stretched, heavy with years of hurt. Sophia looked away, her mind racing. Part of her wanted to cling to the anger that had protected her for so long. But another part, buried deep, wanted to believe him. In the days that followed, she kept replaying that conversation. She remembered the look in his eyes, the regret in his voice. Slowly, the certainty she had carried for years that he betrayed her began to crack. What if she had been wrong about him? What if the truth was more complicated than she had allowed herself to believe? Meanwhile, Levi blossomed under Liam's care. He started school nearby, walking into the classroom with a new backpack Liam had bought. Sophia had worried he would feel out of place, but Levi adjusted quickly. He came home each day with stories about new friends, new lessons, and the joy of having someone pick him up from school without rushing or scolding. One afternoon, Sophia found Liam helping Levi with homework at the kitchen counter. They leaned over the paper together, Levi giggling as Liam explained fractions using slices of an apple. The sight struck her deeply. For years, she had dreamed of Levi having a figure like this, steady, patient, present. She had convinced herself it was impossible. Yet here it was, unfolding in front of her. Still, doubts lingered. At night, when she lay in bed, Sophia asked herself difficult questions. Was she losing her independence by staying here? Was she allowing Liam to step into a role he hadn't earned? Could she really trust that this time would be different? Liam, for his part, seemed to sense her fears. He never pressed too hard, never demanded gratitude. Instead, he focused on small actions, leaving notes to remind her to eat breakfast, asking Levi about his dreams, pausing meetings to be home for dinner. His consistency spoke louder than any grand gesture. One late evening, as Sophia folded laundry in the living room, Levi came rushing in. "Mom, Liam said he can come to my school play. Can he really?" Sophia smiled at her son's excitement. "If he promised, then yes." Levi threw his arms around her, his small voice muffled against her chest. "I like him, Mom. He makes me feel safe." Those words hit Sophia harder than she expected. Safe. Something she had struggled to provide on her own, something she had longed for her son to feel. She looked toward the doorway, where Liam stood quietly, watching them. Their eyes met, and in that unspoken moment, Sophia realized something had shifted. Trust, fragile but real, was beginning to grow again. As the days continued, their life together began to resemble something Sophia never thought possible. Family dinners, shared laughter, even simple things, like grocery shopping together or taking Levi to the park, carried a sense of wholeness. Yet deep inside, Sophia knew the real test was still ahead. She would have to decide whether to fully open her heart, whether to let the past wounds define her future or to believe in the possibility of second chances. For now, though, the bonds forming between them were undeniable. Old truths had surfaced, painful but clarifying, and new bonds were being built, one small act of trust at a time. The quiet hum of the city filtered through the glass walls of the penthouse one evening. Levi had gone to bed after insisting on one more story from Liam, who read until the boy's eyes fluttered shut. Sophia lingered in the living room, folding a blanket and trying to push away the storm of thoughts swirling in her head. When Liam returned from tucking Levi in, he found her standing by the window, arms crossed, and her reflection faint against the night skyline. "You've been avoiding me," he said gently, not accusing but observant. Sophia's shoulders tensed. "I haven't been avoiding you. I've just been thinking about us." She hesitated before nodding. "About whether this is real, or if I'm just caught in some moment that will disappear once your life gets busy again." Liam stepped closer, his voice steady. "This is real. I'm not going anywhere." Sophia turned to face him, eyes shining with a mix of doubt and longing. "You say that now, but I've heard promises before. I can't let Levi get attached only to see it all fall apart." "I understand," Liam said, his tone soft but unwavering. "That's why I need to be honest with you. I never stopped loving you, Sophia. Not for a single day." The words hit her like a wave. She blinked, caught between anger and the ache of everything she still felt. "You can't just say that like it erases the years in between." I don't expect it to erase anything, Liam admitted. I know I hurt you. I know I made choices that left scars. But none of it changed how I felt about you. I buried it under work, under pride, under the belief that I didn't deserve a second chance. But now I see you here, I see Levi, and I can't keep silent anymore. Sophia's voice trembled. Do you have any idea how hard it was? Raising him alone, working until I couldn't stand, and wondering if I was enough? I told myself I hated you just so I could survive without you. Her confession cracked something open between them. Liam's eyes softened, and he reached out, hesitating until she allowed him to take her hand. You were more than enough, he said firmly. You kept going when anyone else would have broken. I see your strength, Sophia. I've always seen it. But you don't have to do it all alone anymore. Tears threatened to spill, but she held them back. If I let you in, it can't be like before. I won't be treated like someone you save when it's convenient. I need to be your equal, Liam. Not a project, not a charity case. An equal. Liam squeezed her hand, his expression solemn. That's what I want too. I don't want to rescue you. I want to stand beside you, to build something that belongs to both of us. Silence stretched between them as Sophia processed his words. Her chest ached with the weight of everything unsaid, but for the first time in years, she felt the possibility of hope. Finally, she whispered, I still care about you. I never stopped. But caring doesn't erase fear. If I trust you again and you walk away. I won't, Liam interrupted, his voice resolute. I'd rather fight every day for your trust than spend another year without you. Sophia studied him closely. There was no arrogance in his tone, no charm designed to win her over. Only sincerity, raw and unguarded. She drew in a shaky breath. Then we try. Slowly. Carefully. But only if we both agree it has to be different this time. Liam nodded. Different, yes. Better. Honest. They stood there for a long while, the city lights flickering beyond the glass, their joined hands a fragile bridge across years of pain. In the weeks that followed, change began to unfold in quiet ways. Sophia allowed herself to rest more, trusting that Liam would step in without making her feel weak. He started cooking simple meals, insisting she sit and eat with Levi instead of rushing off to clean or work. She noticed how he never made her feel guilty for accepting his help. Instead, he celebrated her strength while respecting her boundaries. One night, while folding Levi's clothes together, Sophia found herself laughing with Liam over the way Levi had mixed up words in his homework assignment. The sound of her own laughter startled her. It had been so long since it came so easily. Later, when Levi proudly announced at dinner that he wanted to build rockets when he grew up, Liam leaned across the table with a smile. Then we'll make sure you have everything you need to reach the stars. Sophia watched them, her heart aching in a different way now, not from loneliness, but from the possibility of something she had thought was lost forever. Still, she remained cautious. One evening, after Levi had gone to bed, she sat across from Liam with a seriousness he immediately recognized. I need to say this out loud, she began. I'm grateful for what you're doing. But I don't want to become someone who depends on you so much that I lose myself. I've fought too hard to stand on my own. Liam nodded. I wouldn't want that either. You've built a life for yourself and Levi through strength I can only admire. I'm not here to take that from you. I'm here to share it with you. His answer settled something inside her. She leaned back, allowing herself to breathe a little easier. Their progress wasn't without struggles. There were moments Sophia pulled away, moments when old fears resurfaced. But each time, Liam responded with patience. When she grew quiet, he listened instead of pushing. When she doubted, he reminded her with consistent actions that he was here to stay. One rainy evening, Sophia found herself standing in Levi's room, watching Liam tuck him in. Levi clutched a stuffed animal close, his small voice drowsy. "Good night, Dad," he murmured without thinking. The word hung in the air. Sophia's breath caught, and Liam froze, glancing at her in surprise. Levi was already drifting to sleep, unaware of the weight of what he had said. Sophia stepped back, her heart pounding. Later that night, she confronted Liam. "You heard him," she said, her voice tight. Liam nodded, his own expression conflicted. "I heard. What does that mean to you?" "It means he feels safe enough to call me that. But only if you're comfortable with it." Sophia sank onto the couch, overwhelmed. "I don't know what I'm comfortable with. He's never had anyone else. I don't want him to get hurt." Liam sat beside her, keeping a respectful distance. "Neither do I. But I won't walk away. Not from him. Not from you. Whether or not he calls me Dad, I'll be here." Sophia studied him, searching for cracks in his resolve. But all she saw was steady determination. Slowly, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, this was no longer a fragile dream but the start of something lasting. Healing was not a single moment, it was a collection of them. A late-night talk over tea. A shared laugh during a grocery run. A quiet hand squeeze when words weren't enough. Each moment chipped away at the walls Sophia had built, replacing fear with fragile but growing trust. By the time spring arrived, she no longer felt like a guest in the penthouse. It felt like a home, one built not just of luxury but of effort, forgiveness, and choice. The past still lingered, but the future was beginning to take shape. And for the first time in years, Sophia allowed herself to believe that love, messy, complicated, imperfect love, might be worth trusting again. The change in Sophia and Liam's lives did not stay confined within the walls of the penthouse. Like ripples spreading across still water, their choices began to touch the world around them, subtle at first, but growing undeniable. Sophia noticed it one morning as she dropped Levi off at school. A group of mothers she usually avoided because of their sharp whispers paused when she walked by. For months, they had looked at her with curiosity, sometimes with pity, other times with quiet judgment. But that day, one of them, a woman named Claire, offered a small smile. "Levi's father came to the science fair, didn't he?" she asked. Sophia stiffened, unsure how much to reveal. "Yes." Claire nodded. "He seemed really proud of Levi. It was nice to see." The conversation ended quickly, but it left Sophia thoughtful. People were beginning to see her differently, not as the single mother constantly juggling too much, but as someone who had a family, a partner, even if that partnership was still in fragile stages. At work, the change was just as noticeable. Sophia had always been efficient, carrying more than her share without complaint. But she often appeared tired, running on little sleep, staying late to finish what she couldn't manage during the day. Since moving in with Liam, though, there was a new steadiness to her. She still worked hard, but she was no longer stretched to the breaking point. Her boss, Mrs. Patel, called her in one afternoon. "You seem lighter these days," Mrs. Patel said, tilting her head with curiosity. Sophia smiled faintly. "I guess I've had some help." "Good. You deserve it," Mrs. Patel replied warmly. "I've always admired your strength, but no one should carry everything alone. It's good to see you, happy. Sophia left the office with an unfamiliar warmth in her chest. Happiness. The word felt strange, almost fragile, but it was not untrue. For Liam, the ripple effect showed in different ways. His friends, accustomed to seeing him as the man always chasing the next business venture, noticed he had changed. One evening, he met his longtime colleague Marcus for dinner. Marcus leaned back in his chair, studying him with a smirk. "You're different," Marcus said. "Used to be, I couldn't get you to shut up about the next deal or the next trip. Now you're talking about school projects and bedtime stories." Liam chuckled. "Is that a bad thing?" "Not at all," Marcus replied. "It's just unexpected. I didn't think I'd ever see you like this. Settled. Focused on one thing instead of 20. One thing," Liam corrected gently. "One family." Marcus's smirk softened into something closer to respect. "Then don't screw it up." The words were blunt, but they carried truth. Liam nodded, silently vowing he wouldn't. The strongest ripple, however, was inside Levi himself. The boy who once clung tightly to his mother in fear of being left behind was beginning to bloom. His teachers noticed his confidence in class. He raised his hand more often, volunteered for group projects, and even smiled more. One afternoon, when Sophia arrived early to pick him up, she saw him on the playground. He was laughing with a group of children, chasing after a soccer ball with a grin so wide it made her heart ache. As they walked home, Levi looked up at her. "Mom, do you think Dad will come to my game next week?" The word still startled her, but she kept her expression steady. "I'm sure he will if you ask him." Levi grinned. "Then I'll ask tonight." That night, true to his word, Levi turned to Liam after dinner. "Dad, will you come to my game?" Liam froze for a fraction of a second before nodding. "Wouldn't miss it." Sophia watched the exchange quietly, torn between joy at seeing her son so happy and fear of what it meant to let that bond grow stronger. But deep down, she knew this was what Levi had always needed, not just love from her, but stability from someone who saw him as more than a responsibility. Not all ripples were easy to manage. With change came tension, especially from people who remembered the past. One evening, Sophia received a call from her sister, Grace. They had grown distant over the years, partly because Grace had never approved of Liam. "I hear you're back with him," Grace said, her tone laced with disapproval. Sophia sighed. "It's not that simple, isn't it? He left you once. What makes you think he won't do it again?" Sophia's chest tightened. "Because people change. Because I've seen it in him. And because Levi deserves to know what it feels like to have someone else care about him." Grace was quiet for a moment before responding. "Just promise me you won't lose yourself in this. You've worked too hard to build your life back up." "I won't," Sophia said firmly. "I've made sure of that." After the call, she sat in silence, wrestling with lingering doubts. Grace's words echoed in her mind, but so did the steady reassurance of Liam's actions. Time would tell which carried more weight. The ripple effect spread even further when Liam invited Sophia and Levi to a small gathering with his business associates. Sophia hesitated at first, nervous about stepping into Liam's polished world, but he assured her it wasn't about appearances. "I just want them to know the people who matter most to me," he said. At the gathering, Liam proudly introduced Sophia and Levi without hesitation, making it clear they were not an afterthought. Sophia expected judgment, maybe polite curiosity, but what she felt instead was acceptance. People asked about her work, admired Levi's bright curiosity, and treated her not as Liam's accessory but as part of his life. On the ride home, Sophia looked at him with quiet wonder. "You didn't hide us. You didn't try to downplay who we are." "Why would I?" Liam replied simply. "You're now the best part of me." Her heart softened further, though she didn't say it aloud. As spring deepened, Sophia began to understand that forgiveness was not just about the past, it was about what they were building now. And what they were building was rippling outward, touching friends, colleagues, even strangers in ways she had never imagined. One afternoon, while running errands with Levi, an older woman at the store stopped her. "I see you sometimes with your boy," the woman said kindly. "He looks so happy. You must be doing something right." Sophia smiled, her chest tightening with emotion. "Thank you." Later, she thought about those words. For years, she had carried the weight of survival, wondering if she was enough. But now, she wasn't just surviving. She was beginning to live. Yet with growth came new responsibilities. Liam's world was vast, filled with expectations and obligations. Sophia knew that stepping fully into his life meant stepping into that world too. Could she balance her independence with the demands that might come? Could they truly merge their lives without one being overshadowed by the other? The questions lingered, but one thing was clear. The ripples they had created were no longer small. They were waves shaping their future, drawing them into a current they could not ignore. One evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the sunset, Sophia leaned against Liam's shoulder. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" "Every day," he replied. "And where this is all going?" she asked softly. Liam wrapped an arm around her, his voice steady. "I don't know every detail, but I know I want to walk it with you. With both of you." Sophia closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his words sink in. For the first time in a long time, the unknown didn't scare her. It felt like possibility. The ripple effect was not about perfection. It was about transformation, slow, imperfect, but undeniable. Sophia and Liam had stepped into a new story, one that touched not just their own lives but the lives of those around them. And as the ripples spread, so did the belief that maybe, just maybe, love could heal more than the wounds of the past. It could create a future neither of them had dared to dream. Years passed, but the memory of that night in the kitchen never faded. It became the turning point of a story none of them could have predicted, a night that began with fear and ended with a life rebuilt. Sophia stood outside the renovated Riverside Community Center, watching children run across the freshly painted courtyard. Their laughter filled the air, carrying a lightness that reminded her of Levi when he was smaller. Banners fluttered above the entrance, announcing the reopening of a space that once symbolized division but now stood as proof of healing. Behind her, Liam adjusted the collar of his shirt and slipped his hand into hers. "Looks good, doesn't it?" "It looks like hope," she said quietly. Levi, now a teenager, jogged up to them with a group of friends. His face was bright, his voice full of confidence. "They're starting the games inside. Are you coming?" "We'll be right there," Sophia assured him. She watched him run off again, her chest swelling with pride. This was the life she had once thought impossible, steady, secure, filled with laughter instead of exhaustion. And it wasn't only her family who had changed. Inside the community center, familiar faces gathered. Parents who once whispered about her now greeted her warmly. Volunteers from nonprofits she had joined shared updates about programs helping single mothers find work and childcare. The energy was alive, different from the cold indifference she remembered from her first time here years ago. Sophia took the stage with Liam by her side. She spoke simply, sharing her journey without embellishment. How she once collapsed from exhaustion, how support had changed her life, and how no one should be forced to raise a child alone without resources. The audience listened, not with judgment but with understanding. Liam followed her speech with an announcement of Davidson Industries' new initiative: family-focused policies, flexible schedules, and a fund dedicated to supporting community programs like this one. For him, success was no longer just about profit but about responsibility. The applause was loud, but Sophia's attention was on Levi, who clapped the hardest. Later that night, the three of them walked home together. The streets of Riverside were quieter, safer, thanks in part to the investment the community had made in itself. Streetlights glowed overhead, and children's chalk drawings decorated the sidewalks. "Do you ever think about how different everything is now?" Sophia asked. "All the time," Liam replied. "It feels like another lifetime." Levi walked between them, hands stuffed into his hoodie pockets. "I don't really remember the old apartment," he admitted. "Just little things. The couch, the kitchen, Mom always being tired." Sophia's heart ached, but Levi smiled at her. "But I remember you always tried, Mom. You never gave up. And now it's better." Liam rested a hand on Levi's shoulder. "Because of both of you. You made me want to be better." They stopped at a crosswalk, the red light glowing above them. Sophia looked at the two people who had defined her journey: the boy who had given her the strength to keep going, and the man who had returned when she needed him most. The light turned green, and they crossed together, step by step. Years continued to pass, each one layering new memories on top of the old. Sophia grew her non-profit involvement into a foundation of her own, focusing on helping mothers build independence through education and career training. Liam reshaped Davidson Industries, earning not just profit but respect for using his power to support families. And Levi, bright, determined, and full of life, thrived. He excelled in school, chased his interests, and, when the time came, applied to universities with the full encouragement of both his parents. One moment stood out above all others: the day Levi called Liam Dad, not just in passing, but in front of others, naturally, without hesitation. It wasn't forced or awkward. It was real. The adoption papers came later, signed quietly in a courtroom with smiles and tears, but that word spoken so casually meant more than any document could. Sophia never thought her family would look like this. But standing in that courtroom, watching Liam ruffle Levi's hair and hearing Levi laugh without fear, she knew it was exactly the family she needed. On the anniversary of the community center's reopening, Sophia, Liam, and Levi returned to Riverside. A festival filled the streets: music, food, games, and neighbors celebrating not just the building but the bonds it represented. As Sophia walked through the crowd, she saw people she had once passed silently now stopping her to say thank you. She saw children playing in spaces that used to sit empty. She saw hope where there was once division. At one point, she stepped aside, watching as Liam spoke with community leaders and Levi joined a group of younger kids at a basketball game. A wave of emotion washed over her. The girl she once was, the exhausted young mother in that tiny kitchen, could never have imagined standing here now. Liam found her, slipping his arm around her shoulders. "You're thinking about the past, aren't you?" She nodded. "I almost don't recognize that version of me. She was so tired, so scared." "You kept going," Liam reminded her. "That's why we're here." "No," she said softly, leaning against him. "We're here because we all kept going. Together." As the sun set, Sophia, Liam, and Levi stood outside the community center once more. The building glowed with lights, music still spilling out from inside. Families gathered, friends laughed, and the sense of togetherness was undeniable. Sophia turned to her son and her partner, her voice quiet but steady. Sometimes the most unexpected call can change everything. And sometimes, family is not who we're born with, but who we choose to stand beside. Liam squeezed her hand, and Levi grinned at both of them. In that moment, Sophia knew the story wasn't about wealth, or rescue, or even second chances. It was about love, forgiveness, and the courage to let others in. What do you think about Sophia and Liam's journey? Could forgiveness and second chances rebuild a family? Share your thoughts in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us bring you more powerful stories every day.